What's your name?
Hi, Nick.
Yeah.
My name's Jerome Flynn.
Nice meeting you. So what brings you here today?
My heart, really. I have been, obviously, like everybody else, deeply affected by what's happening on our planet, and I just needed to be with everybody.
Yeah.
Protest is a really important part of change. If we weren't protesting, then you get the feeling that everything would stand still and the extinction that we're rebelling against would just continue. That's the nature of our system, is that the change won't happen unless we demand it. We're in a system where the people in power, by the nature of the system, kind of are disempowered from doing the right thing. We need a systemic change, and that's what I feel is at the heart of this. We need the government to back what they say. We're in a climate emergency. It's very important that they act on that. If we weren't here, you get the feeling that action wouldn't happen. There's a lot more support, I feel, within the system than they'd have us believe.
Okay.
I was at the school strike the other week. There are people in there that really care and get it. It's just the system itself doesn't support change. It's so self-serving. Just the nature of party politics. That's the gift of having the leaders that we have at the moment, and things like Brexit, is it's awakened to us the deep fault, systemic fault in our governmental political process.
Yeah.
And it has to change radically. So I'm fully supportive of these very courageous people who are prepared to risk a lot of uncomfortability and possibly being ridiculed for the greater good.
I've been talking to a lot of people over the last week and a half here, and there's all backgrounds, all ages. One doctor's been arrested twice. People are giving up their civil liberties, and some facing jail time over this.
This is, in my lifetime, the most inspiring movement that I've witnessed. The most inspiring and the most needed. There's been a sense that anybody born into this Western culture, that there's something rotten at the core of it.
Yeah.
And we've become disconnected from our own natural world, from our own nature. There's a shift in consciousness which is being initiated here.
Yeah.
By people coming together from wherever they come from, just in our humanity. Unifying in our love for life, and our understanding that we can't just keep on taking.
People are very at the top who are controlling the financial systems, like the BlackRock. The amount of money that they control is the size of whole economies.
Yeah.
And the influence, the government influence that they have. There's more money given to the oil and gas industry in the UK in subsidies through taxation than there is in renewables.
Yeah.
And
it's entirely the wrong way around. There's a growing consciousness of not wanting to be part of that system anymore.
Yeah.
And that it has to change. And it will. It's like, can we do it in time? Is the question. I know in myself, but there's so much temptation just to be distracted and in denial, because there's a fear. It's like, well, if I open myself up, if I say I care about this and I step into this, it's like, how am I going to feel? And we have to be prepared to be grief-stricken. And on the other side of that is also the joy of being human and allowing ourselves to feel what we need to feel in response to, the deeply sad situation we've created on this planet. That's what I feel is happening here. I feel people are being real and human, and it's very beautiful, and it's done me a lot of good. Not that I came here, for therapy, but I'm so glad to be here.
And have you come here today to be here today, or were you just passing through?
No, I've come to be here. Part of the nature of our culture is that, if you're in a popular show like I was, then if you can support something like XR, then perhaps it's going to bring more positive attention to it.
Yeah.
So I'm aware of a certain responsibility I have there, and it also serves me in a sense, because there's so much vacuousness about fame and celebrity, and if I can be putting my own humanity behind the most important cause we'll ever have, then it helps me to kind of rest a bit more comfortable in my own being.
This young man I talked to just behind you here is holding up the front line of the battle on climate change, and this was so important to him. He quit his job and he cycled 3 days to come here today, you know. And people are glued on over there. One of them's a grandparents, and he's never been arrested for, and he's putting himself on the front line.
We're made to think that progress is about, you know, getting by and getting the qualification so you can get a job and have your life, you know. And yet, how deeply happy are we with that?
Yeah.
And this young fella, you just
this guy with the hat on, just
yeah.
Here.
You said he just quit his job.
So
in a way, which in one sense could be looked upon as madness and what are you doing? But I bet you he feels more alive and probably more in touch with his joy and his own humanity than he did when he was protecting his own kind of self-serving interest, which is what we're bred to do.
Yeah.
So, there's gifts in that sacrifice.
What message would you give to other celebrities?
If we can just be vulnerable and be ourselves and maybe not worry about the results or what it might do for our image, because there's so much concern about that. I think anybody standing in their heart is not going to come to any harm, any real harm. That's all I'd say to anybody, is be true to your heart. And I think we all kind of know what's going on. And we're all dying to be part of the change. And again, it's kind of been inbred that we don't count and we don't make a difference and that we're not in control. But this is people taking control of the situation and expressing their freedom and hopefully bringing us right round back to a culture where there isn't this huge separation and divide between us and nature and each other. And it's been a long journey of madness, but there's a potentiality of an extraordinary, beautiful way of living together. There is. And that's just the beautiful fact. And this is part of it. And it's the seed for it, I believe. It's people coming together in a very simple way and saying, we want something better in a hurry.